Hey there, everybody. Today I'd like to tell you about what a horrible experience it was moving to the Florida Keys from Michigan. Now, when we were living in Michigan, it seemed like we had a much better life. We were living in a two-story house with 3 bedrooms and a basement. My parents had a lot of cool friends. My dad knew a lot of people that liked industrial music and underground music. They had band practice in our basement. My mom was singing in a band, and so I really miss that time because my parents' friends treated me like they liked me and they made me feel good, but moving to the Florida Keys was a major letdown for a few reasons. And one of those things being that the people there are unusually hostile and unfriendly towards newcomers, okay? Um, and not to mention, we also had to move into this ugly little trailer because the price of living is so much higher. So, I could hear my dad complaining about his work life and everything. And what he was finding out was that if you're not a Key West conch and if you're not part of the Bubba system, that you will be treated unfavorably. So, he really hated moving to the Florida Keys. The people sucked, the weather was horrible. So he was in a living hell. And so he used to like to say that they might as well call the place the Island of Paradox because Key West is anything but paradise, right? So, yeah, those first few years of moving to the Florida Keys are where some of the worst memories of my life take place. And so, you know, if you got a little kid that's got this imaginary friend, you might want to suspect that this is somebody who's really lonely and this is somebody who's got a lot of problems. But today I'd really like to talk a little bit about my experience with the little brats that I went to school with. I was bringing up how I couldn't make friends with the kids at school very easily. So when I met Billy, I was really happy to meet him. And so the thing is I've been experiencing this kind of social persecution for being a little different than everyone else most of my life. And in this case, it might be easy to say that I was also very emotionally sensitive just because, my parents weren't getting along. My dad wasn't very happy. And so he was pretty grumpy. And sometimes we'd have a rough morning and I'd come to school feeling extra sensitive. And so it'd be really easy to set me off and get me crying or get me yelling or something like that. So I felt like I became, everyone's favorite little kid to bully at the bus stop. And so that's really kind of harsh. I mean, this is like, this is kind of silly stuff just because, well, kids always tease each other. The only thing is this was just a lot more than normal, and it went on for a very long time. And to make matters worse, I got caught with my finger up my nose. So I was just trying to scratch an itch, just right in here, trying to scratch an itch. And one of the bigger kids came over and she was pointing and laughing and saying, "You're picking your nose, you're picking your nose." Like she was so happy to get something new to tease me about. So just for fun, I pretended to eat a booger. And I swear there was nothing on my finger and I did not eat the booger. However, from that day on, I was known as the booger eater. So for most of my elementary school life, it was booger eater, and I'd come home crying about this booger eater stuff. And so anyways, my dad did catch me picking my nose, and so he liked to tease me about this too. So anyways, he would say that for Christmas he's gonna buy me an electric booger picker that comes with its own little booger box, so you could keep all your boogers in it for later. And he had a funny little song he'd sing. She picked a big fat booger and popped it in her mouth. She picked a big fat booger wooger wooger and remembered tonight's ladies' night and popped it in her mouth. Okay, so anyways, this is something that we've laughed about for years and years. It's just kind of funny to think that calling me a booger eater would hurt my feelings. But when you're a little kid, yeah, that kind of stuff hurts. So they sent me this Christmas card a couple years. Picking your Christmas present forced me to make a tough choice. Right nostril or left? Anyways, you guys, my parents are really cool and funny people, and I think that they did surprisingly good considering some of the problems that we've had at that point in our journey. And so anyways, with the booger picking thing, there was this kid the very next year that wanted to show off for the bigger kids that lived up the street from him named JP. So anyways, JP would come at me and be booger eater, booger eater. So one of those times he got right in my face yelling booger eater, and he was backing me down. I was backing away, and I made fists, and I just lost my temper, and I gave him a bloody nose. So I mentioned this in the previous video where I thought my first fist fight was with Billy, but this was really my first fist fight, and it was kind of like going on that experience. And so yeah, I got in trouble with his mom, and I kind of felt like maybe I won that fight, but I didn't really win that fight. Him and the big kids did gang up on me later, and they grabbed me by each one of my limbs, and they tossed me right in a mud puddle. So these kids used to torment me all the time. And I used to come home crying and all that stuff. And so another thing that happened before kindergarten was over, though, there was this other kid calling me Jody Carody. Jody Carody, Jody Carody. And so one day, I think this had happened like maybe 2 or 3 times. And this time I just blew up. Quit calling me that. And the kid said, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hurt your feelings, but there's this little kid named Billy that told me to say that. And so that's where, I really felt hurt. I really wasn't sure if he was my friend or not anymore. After all, we did have that fight, and now he's saying that I'm Jody Carody, right? So anyways, another thing that helps put things in perspective at that time in my life was that in kindergarten class, we had to bring a blanket to school so that way when we had nap time after lunch, we had something to lay on. Well, I thought it was kind of chilly in there, and so me and the kid laying next to me thought it'd be smart to lay on his blanket and cover it with my blanket. And so this was David Causey, and he said, show me something and I'll show you something. So we each took just a quick peek, down each other's pants, and from that day on we were officially boyfriend and girlfriend. And David was just a plain kind of chubby boy, and I always remembered this because I always thought Billy was cuter than he was, and I always thought he was more interesting than he was, but it seemed like David was nicer to me, and he never lost his temper or tried to hit me or anything. So David was kind of a comfort to me at this time because, I would bump into him once in a while and hold hands, or we'd put arms around each other. And so one of those times we were walking out to recess the very next year, and my cousin Stephen came along, said, "Get away from my cousin, you little fat kid." And this is how I knew it was a visionary slip, because he started talking about Billy. He said that Billy's on the playground. He's 16 years old and something like that. He saw you with this little kid and he wanted me to chase him off. And so somehow Billy gets placed into my memories during this patch of my life. Now, I was saying earlier on, these first few years living in the Florida Keys are some of the most horrible memories. Now, these aren't the bad ones really. So I'm just kind of talking about the social stuff and how it places Billy into my memories, because, I was just being teased a lot. And so like, yeah, I always remembered that about Billy because, I wasn't really sure if he was my friend or not because he called me Jody Carody. So you guys, so this is a little bit about that part of my life. And I want to come back and share some more stories about this particular patch of my life. So if you guys hang in there, I'll be back soon. You can take care and have fun. Bye-bye now.